Today's forum is a part of the Columbus Metropolitan Club's What's on Your Mind series, presented by Cassidy Turley and Columbus Monthly, with a series support from Huntington and also support for this forum by the Kaufman Development. Please thank our sponsors and welcome Kelly Gottschall of Cassidy Turley to the stage for the introduction of our speakers.
Thanks, Todd. Cassidy Turley is proud to support the mission of the Columbus Metropolitan Club to bring forward the people and the topics that allow us to be engaged in our community and a part of the conversation. Cassidy Turley has been an active commercial real estate firm in this community for nearly 7 years, supporting over 30 nonprofits like the Columbus Metropolitan Club by volunteering and by our contributions. And we look forward to our continued partnership with the Columbus Metropolitan Club with events like today's. Columbus has grown in recent decades, and if you look, you might also realize that it hasn't just become bigger, it's become cosmopolitan, and I'm not talking about the cocktail. Thanks to downtown development and downtown residents, the tech and fashion industries, and thriving immigrant communities, Ohio's biggest city hosts a rich cultural diversity that goes way beyond the sleepy Midwestern reputation of its past. Ladies and gentlemen, to talk about our new Columbus and to highlight where we are going, please welcome the following: Guy Worley, President and CEO of the Columbus Downtown Development Corporation; Mayor Coleman; Alex Fischer, President and CEO of the Columbus Partnership; and last but certainly not least, the lovely lady on my other side, Kristyn Hartman from WBNS-TV, 10 TV. So take it away.
Thank you so much. Today we're talking about the story of us, and I became part of the story of us, Columbus, a couple of years ago, actually, almost in April. And I can tell you, we were just talking about this at the lunch table. When my husband and I chose Columbus, we actually had 3 cities we were looking at, and Columbus was far and away the winner, in part because it's a vibrant city and what we like to call a city on the make. We also found a neighborhood we absolutely love in German Village, and I am so excited to be part of this discussion because I think it's a discussion you hear at tables in restaurants across the city. I think people in general are excited about the trajectory and where we're going. But if we're going to have a conversation about the story of us, we kind of have to explore past chapters and understand where we came from. And in this month's edition of Columbus Monthly, there was a quote that I couldn't help but see, Mr. Mayor, and it's from you. And you said, what's the difference between then and now? It's night and day. Prior to our plan and these developments, downtown was vacant and abandoned. It wasn't a place to live. There was nothing else going on in downtown Saturdays, nothing. Sundays, vacant. It was so vacant you could roll a bowling ball down the intersection of Broad and High Streets and you wouldn't hit anybody. That's not the Columbus I moved into. So let's talk about where we came from, and I'd like to open the floor on that note. So who would like to start? Since it's your quote, Mr. Mayor, let's take it from there.
Well, let's start with my quote. It's true. I can remember in the 90s, and I remember walking around downtown, 6:30 in the evening on weekdays, and there's nobody there. And that downtown over the years had become a place where people work. And at 5 o'clock, there's this exodus back out to the suburbs. In fact, all the streets were constructed in a way to allow for the exodus every evening, Monday through Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, it was dead as a doornail. It was incredible. Just buildings and no people. And, and I came in and I said, we have to do something about this. And so what I did was, I think this was in 2002, I brought in some consultants from around the country. I said, look, this is really bad. What do we need to do to fix this? And the consultants came back and said, you know what? You have retail downtown that is failing because Columbus is over-retailed. There's more retail per square foot in the city at that time than any other city in the nation. You cannot support it. It's going to fail, and it did. And it's not going to come back unless, and that was City Center, unless you bring people downtown. So the start was focusing on people, and then the rest will follow. And so in 2002, we created a big effort involving everybody under the banner that downtown is everyone's neighborhood, and focused on the first step to revitalization of our downtowns to bring people down here to live. And when I proposed that, and I stood up in 2002, I said, we're going to bring 10,000 people downtown. I had no idea whether that was going to happen. It was a number I just made up. It sounded good. It sounded bold. But you have to have goals, and unless you aspire for something, you'll never get there. And I bet if I had aspired to 1,000 people, people probably thought I was crazy. But I aspired to 10,000 people, and they just rolled their eyes and said, "We elected this man as mayor." And then we went around the process, and we formed the Downtown Development Corporation. We wanted to create capacity. We provided for tax incentives for people that live downtown. And we went through some rough patches, a lot of stops and starts, failures, successes. And I always felt that we should not fear success. We should do those things necessary to achieve it. And every once in a while, you won't be successful. But for the most part, we've been successful. And we have not reached 10,000 units downtown. We've reached, I think it was 6,200 units constructed in the pipeline, but no one can say that the housing effort has not been successful downtown. It's been phenomenally successful. So as a result, restaurants follow people. They don't open up first. Grocery stores don't open up first and hope the people will come. They want the people there first. Businesses don't want to relocate unless there's some kind of vibrancy. So we had to create amenities, we had to do all these things and to create a more vibrant downtown, create a partnership with the private sector, because government cannot do it alone, and we don't do these things very well by ourselves. We have to bring in the private sector to be helpful and to be supportive and invest their resources in what we're doing. And so we can go year by year by year, but here we are today, fast forward, where I think downtown is really the best downtown in the country now. And it's going to get even better because the best is yet to come. There are plans that we're putting together that is going to blow the socks off the people in this room. And I'm very excited by it. And I always say a city that stays the same falls behind. Well, we're not going to stay the same. We're going to continue to change and continue to improve. And with these two partners, and other folks in the community, we'll continue to make downtown the best place to live, work, and raise a family.
Let's talk about evolving. In talking about this evolution of Columbus, you hit on it, but how has that public-private partnership been instrumental in making that happen?
Look, I think it's core to everything we do. I think it's actually the special ingredient in Columbus. And I think for those of us in the room that aren't from Columbus, we probably bring perspective that especially appreciates what it means to have the private sector and the public sector working together. This isn't staged. And the interactions that we have, I was thinking about it yesterday with Brian Ross, Experience Columbus, and all the private and public partners that were together. It happens every single day in our community. We're big enough to have scale, but we're still small enough that meetings like this happen every single day. I don't think you can say that in Chicago or New York or a lot of other great American cities. It is something that is very, very special about Columbus.
Take off from that. So I have this kind of conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. Yesterday, or a couple days ago, we were trying to get the RNC to Columbus. And there was a panel of people in front of us. And after our presentation, we talked about this partnership between the private and public sector. You know, several people came from other cities. They said, how do you do that? How do you get the private sector and public sector to work together? Because I see it's working in your community. So.
And what was interesting about that meeting is here we had Doug, the chairman of the Franklin County Republicans. We had a Democratic mayor. We had John O'Grady, Democratic office holder. Those of us in the business community. Nobody was talking about politics with a little p. We were talking about collaborating across the political spectrum. And, you know, unfortunately, that's not what you see a lot in America these days, but it is what you see in Columbus.
Yeah. I can tell you that was one of the new things to me, having covered news in a couple of other cities, most recently in Chicago prior to here. This city is definitely collaboration with a capital C, and that's impressive. It stands out for that reason.
So if I can just get a word in. I'm generally the man behind the scene, but from my perspective, why we've been able to succeed as a city, it's definitely due to public and private sectors working well together. But it really, in my view, starts with leadership. Our city wanted to have a world-class downtown for really decades. And that really didn't happen until about the year 2000. And the mayor basically put together that community-wide planning process in 2002 and asked everyone, what would you like to see in the next decade? And what results should we try and achieve between now and our bicentennial? Because of his enthusiasm, his leadership, the public-private sector relationship didn't happen by chance. It happened because the mayor stepped up and gave us a goal. And the private sector leaders followed. And they decided they would roll their sleeves up. They would make investments in our downtown. And they did so because the mayor asked them to. And now we have a lot of momentum in our city. CEOs who sit on our board of trustees, they're about results. And they like to see projects get finished. But you have to have a leader, you have to have a champion, someone out front who says, we need to go where we want to be. And the mayor is, as you can tell, pretty enthusiastic about downtown. But where I'm going with this is, without his leadership, this public-private partnership would not have happened. You think of the South Mile, you think of Columbus Commons, you think of our downtown, the Arena District. We needed a strong mayor, and he led the way, and basically those public-private partnerships have been developed because of his enthusiasm, his cheerleading, and his leadership. I say he says we have the best downtown. I say we have the best mayor in the country.
Here, I'll pay you $20.
Well, Guy, you're talking about some of the results, the fruits of the labor of the last decade plus, the Scioto Mile, the Columbus Commons, all this green space that makes the city so livable. When we were all talking prior to this, picked up a fact that I had not known. Downtown is 2.2 square miles. 25% of it used to be parking lots. And which is, it's amazing when you think of where we are now. 25% used to be parking lots. Look at all the green space we have. And we're projecting, let's talk a little bit about the future. The peninsula.
Yes, that's great.
Okay.
That's where you knock your socks off. It's so exciting. I'll set the framework, and you be more specific, Guy, because you're doing a great job on this. But I got to tell you, the work we've done on the Scioto Mile and Columbus Commons has been terrific. it's really transformed our downtown. The housing downtown has transformed our downtown. But as I think about the West Bank and what it will be in both the peninsula and in Franklinton in future years is mind-boggling. It is going to be absolutely terrific. And I can't wait to get there. I think about it every day, what it's going to look like and the excitement it's going to bring to the city and the glass ceiling we will break through once all of that, Franklinton and the South Peninsula are developed. From Veterans Memorial all the way going south and in the park and the areas behind it, all the way to the zoo. It is going to be a sight to behold and something that will be a part of every neighborhood, every person in this city. They'll own a piece of that rock. Go ahead.
Yeah, the South Peninsula is a great opportunity for our city. It's been planned 8 times since 1908. Not a lot has happened. So what makes the South Peninsula plan that we've been proposing over the last year different from the other 8 plans? The difference is there are many. One, as Kristyn mentioned, green space is a catalyst for urban renewal and urban redevelopment. The mayor mentioned the South Mile and Columbus Commons. When we created those 2 parks, those public-private partnerships were put together. The reason folks invested is because we looked at other cities who were focusing on urban renewal. We looked at Chicago when we were talking about the South Mile. It was very similar, very linear. We used Millennium Park as a model. We looked at Bryant Park as a model in New York City. Bryant Park was a no-go zone many years ago. It was redeveloped. Sits on 2 stacks of library books. Columbus Commons sits on 2 stacks of parking decks. Those 2, and then we looked at our own city now, and what makes this South Peninsula plan different is those 2 parks have been catalysts for the redevelopment of $225 million worth of new private investment in that 2-block area, just because people want to live, work, and play near green space. We are going to create 33 new acres of green space on the side of Greenways project. We've removed the Lowhead Dam, another public-private partnership. 33 new acres of green space are going to be created. We're going to have a river that flows again. It's not going to be chocolate brown. It's going to actually be an amenity, and by allowing it to flow again, it will clean itself. That 33 acres of green space is going to be the catalyst for the redevelopment of the 56 acres to the west. And putting together a public-private partnership where the city and the county and the state and the private sector come together to build a new cultural peninsula, as the mayor mentioned, starting with the new Ohio Veterans Memorial Museum, a new downtown campus for the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium. They're going to complement what we already have there in a world-class, the #1 science and industry museum in the country in COSI. But one of our leaders has been working with us on this, and Les Wexner, and he and his wife Abigail have made a huge investment up front, and they're leading the private sector campaign with a $25 million investment for the Ohio Veterans Memorial Museum. But he said, you know, if we only build a cultural peninsula, COSI, a zoo, a new Veterans Memorial, we would not have the economic impact that we're looking for. And so we want to create a world-class destination on this 56 acres. Take advantage of our young professionals who want an urban lifestyle, and so make it a mixed-use development with residential and retail there as well. Make it a destination not just for our city, but for our state, and take advantage of our geographic location in the nation and make it a world-class destination. So that's our goal, and that's kind of where the next evolution of downtown is occurring. It's westward.
Okay.
Go west.
So Kristyn, when you reflect on everything that's happened over the last decade and what many of us think will happen over the decades to come, it doesn't happen if you're not growing an economy. And at the root of all the progress that's being made is the fact that Columbus is leading the Midwest in job creation. We were just named yesterday as the 8th best city for economic development by the leading economic development publication. Huffington Post yesterday wrote, I was showing this to Kristyn at our table, wrote yesterday in commentary about the state of California that California Governor Jerry Brown and the California legislature should visit Columbus, Ohio to learn how to do economic development. Mayor, I think we should,
state of California.
the entire state. And we'd love to host Governor Brown and his colleagues and show them what we're doing because it's phenomenal. The growth that we're seeing, we're the only city in Ohio that is growing at the rate that we are. And as such, we have a special responsibility that as we grow to keep up with it. And I think that's what our public sector leaders are helping to ensure that we do. That we don't just simply grow and become a congested city, but that we grow smart and that we make investments in our city that make this the best possible place. And that's just simply going to feed on itself in the years ahead. You combine that economic growth with the in public investments and the private investments that are being made, and then it just begins to manifest and become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Not just simply dreams of people putting it on paper.
To sustain growth and to attract further corporate investment and things of that nature, what are the challenges that Columbus faces? If you had to name 3, what would they be?
Education, education, and education.
Okay.
I mean, you know, look.
I would add one more. Transportation.
Yeah.
Transportation.
Is a
Okay.
big deal. And that's something we need to get a handle on.
Came up in the convention talk.
Well, it comes up all the time in all talks.
Okay.
And we need to, and we'll talk more about that. You go ahead and talk about education. I'll get to
Yeah,
that.
no, agree on the transportation. Look, I think it's the reason why, you know, certainly the 3 of us and everybody in this room have started a conversation about education. It's not complete. It's ongoing. It's not easy. At some level, Guy said it's about leadership, and that's certainly true on the education front. We have 32,000 kids in our schools this morning that are in failing schools. And look, it's the tale of 2 cities. We have the economic winds at our back. We're growing. It's a vibrant community, but if we don't bring that same vibrancy to every kid in Columbus, then where are we going to be in the next several decades? And so we have to stay after it. I've never been more proud of our community than I was on the week after the election and the months after the election last year. And certainly there was a big disappointment in November for many of us, but also a shot of energy, because I don't know of a single public sector or private sector leader who put their head down and said, let's stop. They said, let's learn from it, let's understand it, and let's stay after it, because this issue is way too important to the fundamental future of Columbus. And so I think that's a big issue, but I also think it's a huge opportunity that our leadership throughout Columbus is tackling head on.
The schools have been mired in a degree of controversy, and one of the things that I heard at the polls, and actually when people talked from a number of different people, we don't want to throw good money after bad. And so my question is, how are we hearing that and moving forward?
Well, we are moving forward. As you know, we're starting through my office. I hired an education director, Rhonda Johnson. She'll be great. But we're going to focus on the years before that, that 3rd grade reading guarantee. And that's critical. The state is requiring our young people to read at a certain standard by the 3rd grade. If they don't, they'll be held back. And the expectation is we'll have a whole lot of children that will not pass that test. And we end up building schools to hold them. I mean, a lot of kids are going to fail that test. So the focus needs to be pre-K. The earlier our young people learn, the better they're prepared for that third grade reading test, but also for life. It's been proven time and time again. The city of Denver has a pre-K effort. Even the state of Georgia has a pre-K effort. And other states are, yeah, I know. How about that? And what that has shown is that when young people come to school ready to learn through the pre-K programs, they are so far better off in their testing and meeting the standards. And we need to focus on that pre-K. Then we focus on K, 1, 2, and 3, and get them going in the right direction. Early learning is essential. And so what we're going to do, frankly, is we're going to continue with the effort. We have Kathy Rancière, who is the co-chair of the Columbus Education Commission. She's here today, and we appreciate all her work. But we're going to continue moving forward. We're going to take it in smaller bites. We're not going to call for all of this reform all at one time, but we are going to continue to ensure that our kids are ready for the future. And that's the least we can do. That's the one thing we really have to work on that's essential. The second thing is training as well, education and training. So there's kind of 3 areas for me: education, training, and transportation. Training. We do a real good job at creating jobs in the city of Columbus. Excellent. As Alex indicated, even the state of California is going to look at Columbus and how you create jobs. We do a very, very good job at that. But did you know there are about 23,000 people unemployed in the city of Columbus, but there are 20,000 jobs ready and open and available today? So what that tells me is while we got to continue to be good at creating jobs, we have to become better at filling the jobs. And that goes back to education and training, getting the people ready for the jobs that are available today. And again, Columbus State, we have some Columbus State people here today over there on the Board of Trustees. They're going to be very much engaged in the training of folks, adults, to make sure that these jobs that we have, they will be filled. The third thing, transportation. I cannot tell you how often the issue of transportation comes up around the country about Columbus and around our neighborhoods about Columbus. I think it's essential we improve our transportation effort in this city. We need more direct flights out of our airport, and we need, I believe in rail. I think that's something we need to look for this. We're the largest city in the nation without a rail system. And we're getting even larger. And young people and professionals, the way to get around is going to be focused, in our conventions, and people say, well, how do you get around? Well, we have COTA. They do a great job. And COTA is getting better. They have a new circulator program that's going to be out this year. That'll be a great thing. But that's a good first step in improving our transportation efforts. So we really need to focus on transportation to make it work for our city and for visitors.
Guy, did you have anything you wanted to add to?
I think not everything is so bleak on the education front, however. One of the reasons our city continues to grow is because we have built amenities. We have major universities and colleges that are not only nationally known, but world-renowned. And being a community that doesn't have mountains, doesn't have an ocean, our natural asset is our young folks. And having the second largest college population in America with 120,000 college students in our city, that's one of the strengths that we have that Alex and the mayor continue to be able to promote to employers to come to our region. We are good at creating new jobs. one of the reasons is we have the workforce that is trained and talented that can take those jobs. Those young folks continue to want more amenities in their downtown. They want an urban lifestyle. And so there's definitely room for improvement in our education system, without a doubt, but it's also a strength.
And Columbus has become the 7th most popular city for the 20-something crowd. So that says that we're speaking to that demographic, which is a real positive, I think.
Yeah, when you think about the transportation question, you say, well, how do those 20-somethings like to move around, whether it's with Uber or whether it's car-to-go or, you know, whether it's with rail or whether it's with Google-less, driverless cars that we know are coming. And if you don't believe it, just, you know, we can learn a little something from California and what their communities are doing. You know, in the next couple of decades, will we build the infrastructure that allows driverless cars to proliferate our community? And so we have to learn from the 20-somethings and be willing to, you know, exponentially get out of our comfort zone of the way it's always been done. And do things differently as a vibrant cosmopolitan community.
All right, gentlemen, before we wrap up this line of questioning, it's 5 minutes now before our questions from the audience. And so I want you to be prepared, think about what you'd like to ask our panel. And I do have one more question as we wrap this up. When we talk about the story of us, we talked about where we've been, where we're going, or where we were, where we are. Now we're talking about where we're going. So if you had a title for the next chapter, what would it be? And I'd like to pose that to each of you.
Well, I've said it many, many times, and it's, I call it comma Ohio. And comma Ohio.
Okay.
And the fact that when you get on an airplane and you say, where are you from? You say you're from Nashville, in my instance, is where I was born, or Denver, or New York, or San Francisco, or Cleveland and Cincinnati, for that matter. And in Columbus, you seem to want to say Columbus, Ohio. I think that over the next decade and beyond, we're growing beyond the comma Ohio, that we're growing to be one of the world's great cities. The place where cosmopolitan thinkers come to our city to learn about economies, to learn about arts and cultural, to learn about public-private partnerships. And so I believe that in the future, our future is as a major cosmopolitan, not just U.S. city, but international city that's on the ranks of any community in the world. And where you certainly don't have to have a descriptor when you say Columbus.
I started, you
No,
ended.
no,
You go ahead.
Thank you, thank you. That's a tough one. I would say it's the Columbus way. I think about every project and everything that we've discussed here today, and really the reason you all came to this was we have public and private sector leaders that work really well together. I think that's what differentiates Columbus from other cities. I think that's why our city has weathered the Great Recession better than others. That's why our city is probably the fastest growing city in the Midwest. And it's because our public and private leaders work in a very collegial way. They really buy into this community, they invest in this community, and they want the best for this community. So I would say it's the Columbus way is how we're going to continue to succeed.
Let me start with a little preamble first. Many of you know I was stuck in D.C. the past couple of days. It's another reason not to like the city. 3 inches,
Can't clear 2 inches of snow.
3 inches of snow, by the way. But couldn't get out of D.C. Both airports had closed down for 2 days for 3 inches of snow. So I went to Baltimore. But while in Baltimore waiting for my flight back to Columbus, I went to a bookstore, and one of the top-selling books, the name of the book was Going from Good to Great. And I opened up the book. I said, oh, interesting title. I opened up the book, and the first line of the book was, "Good is the enemy of great."
Huh.
I said, I'm going to buy that book. And so, as I think about the future of the city of Columbus, we're a good city, but we need to go from good to great. And that means doing things differently, thinking bigger, thinking more imaginatively, pursuing big ideas, making sure the little things work as well, and the important things work as well, making sure things are covered at every level. But, and people say, well, why do you want the Democratic or National Convention of the City of Columbus? Well, that's why. Because I want to go from good to great. So that when conventioneers start looking at cities, they start really thinking about city of Columbus, whether we win this thing or not, this either convention to the city of Columbus. It's a great exercise. What does it take to go from good to great? And that's what we need to be doing.
Thank you, Mayor Coleman. Thank you, Alex Fischer. Thank you, Guy Worley. You're not off the hook yet. So we're starting our line of questioning, and it's a CMC tradition to take audience questions. Please go to the microphone, state your name, ask your question. We thank you in advance for avoiding long editorial comments. Now, the first question, please.
Mr. Mayor, I'm Carol Looper, and I'd love to know.
I thought we got rid of
Thought you got rid of me. This is an easy one, Mr. Mayor.
Just kidding. We love you, Carol.
Thank you. When you were in D.C. pitching for the Republican National Convention, what did you learn about our chances, and what do you think our chances are of getting the Democratic National Convention? Would you bring back a report to us on what we can expect?
Well, I think our chances are good with both. You know, looking around the room, I saw a lot of heads nodding. Brian Ross made a heck of a presentation. He made a heck of a presentation. Had to correct him a couple times, but he did it good. So I think our chances are good. But you know, win or lose, this is an important exercise for the city. Because, frankly, I submitted through Experience Columbus in 2006 a bid for the Republican convention at that time. And I went to the meeting, and they told us all the requirements that were necessary for us to receive that convention. And I looked at the folks in the room at that time. I said, I withdraw the petition, withdraw the application, because we weren't ready for prime time. Came back to the city of Columbus. I said, we're just not ready. We're not even ready to be considered. And so worked hard at putting together a financial package that ended up in the Columbus Hilton Hotel. We were going to build it with with city bonds, and we couldn't pull that off. So we went to the county. And the county became our partner to help build the Hilton. And there it is now, and we didn't even meet the minimum requirements of hotel rooms. We had, in 2006, our downtown didn't look what it looks like today. There weren't as many things to do. We just weren't ready for prime time. Now we are. And so that's why we submitted it. We have enough hotel rooms. We have meet all the minimal requirements. We have to work on some things like transportation and other things. And this will be a good learning process for us, win or lose. I play to win. We're going to play this thing to win. We want one of those conventions in our city. However, if we lose, we'll learn a lot about ourselves for the next time.
Okay. Next question, please.
Hi, I'm Margie Pizzuti, President and CEO of Goodwill Columbus and Chair of the Human Service Chamber of Franklin County, which is comprised of 70 human service agencies in the community, speaking with one voice on behalf of our most vulnerable citizens. And we all believe that the true measure of a community's humanity is reflected in how we care collectively for our most vulnerable citizens. We know that each and every one of you up there has enormous passion for that population of individuals and have been steadfast supporters. Talk briefly about, I know this is a big conversation, how do we make sure that the tent is embracing all of our community citizens? Because what you're doing is awesome. We just want to make sure it's always a community for all.
Yes.
You know, Margie, I think, you know, thank you. You know, one piece of it is we've got to elevate the conversation. And I think it was about a year ago that I was on the stage and we were talking with Doug Kreidler about the issues of poverty in our community. My wife Lori and I last week went through the United Way's poverty simulation, which for a couple of hours was an awfully humbling experience and a reminder that even just in those couple of hours, you know, what the challenges are among a lot of people that never have the opportunity to be in a room like this. And so I think we have to uplift the conversation, not be afraid to challenge ourselves and have that tough conversation to say that we can't build a city of have and have-nots. We've got to build a city that is vibrant for all. And I hope we're all, you know, working to make this a great city and to make it the best city that it can be. As the mayor says, that means we've got to do it in a way that brings everybody along with the opportunities and helping to make sure that those that are disadvantaged or downtrodden or just on some bad luck don't get discarded, but rather get uplifted. And if you haven't been, and I think the United, just a plug here, I think the United Way is going to do these simulations in all aspects of our community. Take 2 or 3 hours out, and I promise you, you'll be humbled. But in the process, maybe we'll have some both self-reflection and reflection as a community about the challenges that we know we face.
If you came to my State of the City, my focus this year was on sharing our success. City of Columbus is phenomenally successful in many areas, and we're a city of contrast as well. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country, yet we have a growing poverty rate among the highest. We are a city that has more jobs today jobs that are filled today than at any other point in the history of our city. There are more people working right now in the city of Columbus than ever in our city. But having said that, our per capita income rate is $8,000 less than the rest of the country. All at the same time, we have more homeless today than we ever have. And so what we need to be doing is making sure that we share the success of our city to others, with others. And that means on the issue of homelessness, I talked about where we're going to have a new case management system with the Community Shelter Board, that we're going to take every individual that's homeless and walk them through a human service process to get them out of the state of homelessness and to improve their lives. That means filling jobs that exist in our community. It makes making downtown that, you know, that we've really worked hard to have a place where people can live, to make it affordable now, where everybody can live downtown, not just those who can afford $2,500 in rent a month. We have an effort now called Housing Works that we're working on to improve that scenario, providing people an opportunity to live in the job centers in places where they work, for the hotel employees, the public employees. So we have work to do, and we have to recognize that, and that our city will be so much better off when we make sure that we share the success to all people in the city of Columbus. And I'm committed to do that, and I know these two folks up here are committed to do that, and so are many of you out there. It's our highest priority in this city. For me, the highest priority is to share the success of our city to everybody, with everybody.
Good afternoon. I'm Kathy Lowry, the Director of Community Outreach for the Ohio National Guard. This is a great segue. The City of Columbus is going good to great in terms of your support of veterans, hiring service members. For many of you who don't know, the City of Columbus was acknowledged as one of 15 recipients around the nation from the employer support of Guard and Reserve as to how they are handling and supporting veterans in this community. So thank you, Mayor Coleman, to you. That is a very prestigious distinction, so sir, thanks for all that you and Mr. Rick Isbell are doing, and also I'll take this opportunity to thank many of the employers in this room for what you are also doing in support of those that you are hiring and those that you might like to hire. Just thank you.
Oh, thank you.
That's so important.
Okay. Oh, we got a line.
I think it is time for our blitz round of questions. Is that not true? Oh, 2 more minutes. Oh, we'll take 2 more. Okay, go ahead.
So Todd Tooney, City Year, but also CMC. You had mentioned earlier in our forum about education, being a part of an education reform organization. I always get a little bit concerned about the conversation when it's solely focused on pre-K and also the 3rd grade guarantee, knowing that there's a tremendous amount of our students that are at risk of dropping out of high school now. And so I just am interested in hearing your thoughts about kind of this epidemic that we're seeing with our 9th, 10th graders dropping out of high school and what your thoughts are around it.
Well, definitely need to work on that. I mean, it's clearly something that I know that the new school board is working on, that I'm working on with them. It'll be one of the things that the new director of education will come out the box working on as well. So yeah, we got to deal with that. And but I'm focused now on pre-K because I think if we could deal with pre-K right now, they won't be dropping out in the 8th grade, 9th grade, and 10th grade. And that's our goal. So I made a tactical decision based upon the resources we have to be all in on pre-K and making sure that they're ready, so that by the time they get in the 8th grade, the 9th grade, the effort to keep them in school won't be as great because they will already be there. They won't be dropping out.
Mayor Coleman and gentlemen, last week I was at the Chamber of Commerce and I picked up a glossy 5x7 booklet. And each of you have recited numerous facts today about Columbus. What I'd like to encourage, please, is the people who are in the audience who have their employers and members of the chamber is to receive a copy of this, because it's an outstanding booklet. And I'm sure each of you had your thumbprint on the production of it. And I'd like to have you extol a few lines from the booklet beyond perhaps what you've already said. Thank you very much for being here today.
You know, I'm not,
No booklet?
you know, there are a bunch of booklets, but
This is the one from
Take it away.
you know, look, my reflection would be, and I do think we all should practice our elevator speech, but you know, we're the 15th largest city, 3rd largest state capital, fastest growing city in the Midwest, the #1 zoo, the #1 science museum, the #1 library. You know, the largest college population. Actually, I think it's 150,000 college students in our city this morning. More Fortune 1,000 companies per capita than any other city in America. 15 of those that are actively engaged in the work that we do. And so we all need to ask ourselves, what's Columbus mean to us? And, you know, think about it, you know, we're all salespeople. We all have the opportunity to sell this city and to tell others what it means to us as individuals and to us as business people. So I'm not sure about the brochure, but that's my off-the-cuff brochure about Columbus.
I'm sure it was a good picture of Alex Fischer in there, wasn't it?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, distinguished guests, people here. My name is John Nazario. Retired Air Force veteran, combat vet from Afghanistan. I'm a vet. Thank you. I'm one who decided to retire in Columbus, to make this my home. I brought my family. I'm originally from Puerto Rico, hoping that you can get a direct flight there, too.
I'm working on that one. I'll be on the
Yeah.
first flight.
Direct.
You and me together, right?
Yes. But as a veteran, I want to know, and all the veterans that are affected by this downsizing, you know, sir, this is a big downsizing that we're going through. I mean, a lot of people that won't have the opportunities that these OSU, Columbus State University, you know, they won't have that training involved to be able to get these jobs, that are not prepared, that need orientation. And also, I want to know, how would it affect, in general, the whole, this Veterans Memorial, excuse me, sir. How does it affect us? Because not everyone has the opportunity to, okay, it's a museum. What are we going to use it for? Is it going to help the veterans? I'm asking. I'm not here, you know, I'm here representing veterans. Will it help us?
That's a good question. What we're building on the peninsula is a new Veterans Memorial. Currently, the Veterans Memorial there doesn't really do a great job of honoring our veterans. It's a convention center, one that has frankly outlived its useful life from a facilities perspective. So we convened a group of veterans led by Senator John Glenn, and asked them what would they like to see with regard to a Veterans Memorial. And this group of veterans, which this committee now consists of folks from all over the state, have shared that they want a Veterans Memorial that truly honors our veterans, talks about honor, duty, country, and that's really important to them. But equally, if not more important, they wanted a Veterans Memorial that would focus on educating our young folks about the sacrifices that our veterans have made on all of our behalfs. I remember a statement from many of the veterans that was repeated over and over again, and they felt like today's youth really don't have an understanding of what service is. And so it's going to be a museum that focuses on educating our young folks about our country's history, Ohio's role in it, and the sacrifices that our veterans have made on behalf of all of us. So that's what the new Ohio Veterans Memorial and Museum is going to be about. We're lucky that we have 900,000 veterans in our state, and we certainly want to recognize and honor them, and that's what this facility will be.
Yeah, I think it'll be exciting. You know, my son's a veteran. He's still in the service. Been in Iraq twice, and he's still in the service. And you know, every day I think about him and pray for his safe return. And I ask myself, would this new Veterans Memorial be something my son would be proud of? And I'm telling you, he would be. That's my measure.
I hope you enjoyed today's forum. Remember that you can see it again on Columbus TV 3, on the Ohio channel and WOSU, and you can share it on YouTube through our CMC's website. For those of you who are new to CMC, if you'd like to be added to our email list, just please place your business card in our plastic sleeve of your name tag. We encourage you to continue the conversation in the lobby and over coffee and cookies. We'd also like to invite you to come back to CMC next week. One more time, let's thank our guests, Guy Worley, Alex Fischer, Mayor Michael Coleman, and Kristyn Hartman. And thank you for being here. We look forward to seeing you again soon.